Tom, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to T-Town.
Yeah, thanks. I'm doing great. I'm actually down in Clearwater, Florida right now doing football interviews. I have going from school to school, so the weather here is not bad. I'm from Chicago, and yesterday they had reached 60 degrees below zero wind chill, so I'm glad I'm not there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you planned that purposely to get out of there and go to the Sunshine State.
Yeah, I do every year, actually. I do plan on. I'm almost going all of January and February throughout the South, and it probably as far north as I'll go is Tennessee, and it's still cold there, so I'm glad I'm down in Florida.
Tom, what are you doing? Are you evaluating for 2019, 2020? Kind of walk us through, because I think I know a little bit about what you're doing as you do this annually, as you put a lot of miles and you travel around and see prospects one-on-one. But kind of update us on exactly what you're doing as you prepare for the 2019 signing day, but also looking ahead to 2020 as well.
Well, yeah, actually, I'm doing almost all the work for 2020, 2021, and 2022. I'm always trying to stay a step ahead of everyone else. I see all the top players now. The 2019, I've seen them all over a year ago, so there's no reason to go see them again after you already evaluate them once, and then follow them as seniors. And then if they do better, you rank them a little bit higher. But I'm trying to stay one step ahead. So I go see the top 2,000 2020 kids, and I'll be done by May 1st. I started actually in September, and since the first signing period in December, got most of the top players. There really aren't that many left. So, and I've noticed it too. I was at Lakeland High School yesterday, and Lane Kiffin was there, and Josh Heupel from UCF, and a lot of the head coaches. They're all 2020 recruiting right now. Very few coaches are out there looking at the guys for this year.
Yeah, did you think early signing period would take off the way that it has? I mean, Nick Saban was very hesitant here, but certainly he had benefited this year as he locked a lot of those guys down before he lost 7 out of his 10 assistant coaches.
Yeah, see, and that's smart. And I think for college coaches, it's great. It's a win-win because a good number of top coaches will leave to go to the NFL or switch schools for more money. And if you got all the guys locked down as of December 19th, then assistant coaches could leave after the bowl season, and you still keep those ball players. So that's not bad, although there's a ton of them in the portal right now. So I guess some of them are still unhappy, including the number one player that USC got, Brew McCoy. He signed with USC last month, and now he's already at Texas. So I guess even signing guys, you can't be sure they're going to stick around. So you got to be careful. But I do think that with the success of the early signing period, in the next few years, they may just completely drop out the second signing period just because there's very few players left, really.
Tom, what do you see in Antonio Alfano? Certainly, according to, and I know you guys have an indirect relationship, CBS Sports and 247 Sports. They've got him as their number 1 overall player. Antonio Alfano from New Jersey. What do you see in this young man?
No, he's not mine now. He's 247, but and Antonio, he came on my show. He announced on a show before, and then he came on Signing Day Live. And I've known him since his freshman year. He's been at 3 different high schools, and he's a solid inside guy, good feet, super strong, and excellent player. But he's not my number 1 player. He's somewhere in the top 50, but not number 1. And he's a good, solid inside guy. And Alabama is going to obviously bring the most out of him. What I saw him, though, is more of a run stuffer. He's got decent feet. He could at times apply pressure on the quarterback, but more of he's a 2-gap type guy who can use his hands and dominate point attack. When you see him, he's a massive, broad-shouldered kid who's going to just keep getting bigger, and he'll probably wind up weighing around 320, 330 and be a great defensive tackle.
Tom, who is your number 1 player in high school football going into the college ranks?
It's Kayvon Thibodaux, who was my number 1 last year. In fact, I didn't see any reason to change it since he was the player of the year in Los Angeles, 20-plus sacks once again. He's got great explosive moves, and he plays against the best competition. He didn't as a freshman sophomore when I went and saw him in the public league, and then he switched over to Oaks Christian, who plays a lot of the big-time schools, and still he dominated both public league and private league. So he's the real deal, an explosive ball player. Oregon's got him. He'll play right away as a freshman and dominate. And then my number 2 guy is I actually had Antonio Alfano as my number 11 player, And my number 2 was the Jaden Hazelwood, a wide receiver out of Georgia, who I think will be this year's breakout star as a wide receiver. He's that good. He's going to Oklahoma, too, which is a school that's going to put the ball up a lot. And he's a major talent. And then Nolan Smith is going to Georgia as my number 3 player, defensive end from IMG, who I've seen the last couple of years at IMG and really impressed with him. Although at IMG they have so many stars, you never really play the full season. So I think might have taken a step back a little bit, but he's got enormous potential.
Let me ask you about Trey Sanders. Signed the letter of intent to University of Alabama at IMG Academy there in Bradenton, Florida. What do you see in Trey Sanders, the back that's headed to Tuscaloosa?
He's my number 4 player. Trey is the number 1 running back in the country. Again, I've seen him play. He plays at IMG Academy, so he doesn't get the yards that some of the other guys will get because there's so much talent there, and they don't play as many games. But Trey's the real deal. He's about 218 pounds, and I'm going to be at IMG Academy tomorrow for the whole day, and I'll be seeing the guys they have coming up the next few years. But I've seen Trey even when he was on crutches. He's an optimistic kid. He's a great ball player to have on your team because the players all love him, and he's a legit game-breaking type running back. He's got the size. He's more of a north-south runner, but he's got the power and the size and the speed to dominate as a north-south runner.
Let me also stay with IMG Academy. Evan Neal, the young man that is already early enrolled here at the University of Alabama. You kind of see him as one of those dominant left tackles, or do you see him somewhere else?
He will. I think he will be with Nick Saban as his coach, but he's not a dominant tackle right now if you watch him at IMG. He's kind of overweight. He's got to be careful. But he's got long arms. He's got tremendous size. He's a legit 6'5", 6'7" guy, a 6'6", 6'7" guy, and I've seen him the last 3 years also. He had baby Huey looks about 2 years ago, so he has lost some of that weight. Again, he's not the dominant guy he will become once Nick gets a hold of him, puts him on a different kind of with a nutritionist working on his eating habits and also the weight room too, because he's not a real big weight room guy yet. He's strong naturally, but I think once they get a hold of him, he could a great right tackle, maybe not left, but a right tackle.
Tom, is there a position that's harder for you to evaluate than some of the other positions?
I always thought it'd be offensive lineman. I've always had trouble with that. And you know what I've learned, and it happened really when you look at the guys that are ferocious. Jonah Williams is one of them when I was out at Folsom, California, to look at him. You know, he's not as big. He's not super big. He's good size, but not like an Evan Neal type guy. When you watch him on film, he was ferocious. He dominated. So the thing with offensive linemen, what I've learned over the years, they got to have the size and the quick feet and the technique and everything. But then because offensive linemen have a tendency to be more cerebral than ferocious when you're looking at high school offensive linemen. So once you get a guy like him, or the kid Quentin Nelson, who was at Notre Dame and already all-pro as a rookie with the Colts. I remember going out to New Jersey to see him, and he loved burying people. He was just kind of little guys, too, which you got to look at because most of the guys in high school are going to be smaller than you. And every time he played, he buried people. And he had that ferocious attitude like Jonah Williams has and like the three guys have. And those are the kind of guys that I should be looking more towards. Darnell Wright is my number one offensive tackle in the country out of West Virginia. He's still out there, and Tennessee may wind up with him. But Darnell has got a bit of a mean streak to him when you watch him, and he's also obviously got the great size. So he's got big-time ability, and he's already proven himself a little bit more than Evan Neal has when it comes down to dominating the competition. So I think Darnell, that's the reason why I had him higher. And he's 6'6", 320. He's got great size, long arms, and he's got great extension, good use of hands. Everything you see on him is like a dominant ball player. And he's from Huntington, West Virginia, where you normally don't find players. Nishif on him and Doug Metzger going to Ohio State. It's two of the best offensive linemen in the entire country from a little town like Huntington. So I guess you just never know where they're going to pop up.
Tom, final couple of minutes here. Let me ask you about Let me ask you about Nick Saban. And how does he continue to do it? Because he's fighting so many different things. He's fighting, father time when we talk about at the age of where he is. You talk about the dynasty here. Kirby Smart's hitting him from the left. Jimbo Fisher down in Texas. Coach O was able to win 10 football games down there. It seems like Dan Mullen's getting things cranked back up in the state that you're out, but Nick Saban still continues to pull in these number one class. How's he doing it?
He outworks everyone, and you know what? You don't have to worry about age with him. He's in great shape. He looks a lot younger than what he is. I don't think age is really a problem with Nick Saban. It's just a matter of how long he wants to keep doing it. And it looks like he's got that chip on his shoulder where even if he wins one year, he's got to win the second year. Like losing to Clemson, I think probably sticks in his craw. So you can look for Alabama to dominate this coming year and win the national title next January. And I think that as long as he decides to do it, doesn't really matter how many assistant coaches he loses, because it's really Nick Saban's program, and whoever comes in, better recruiter, they'll be out the door right away. So he's done a great job there, and I think, and to me, it's almost like they're all replaceable, those assistant coaches. Look, you're losing this court, losing this court. It doesn't really matter. He still coaches great because it's the Nick Saban system and it's his team. I honestly believe, too, that Alabama fans have gotten a little spoiled. Some of them were upset with the Clemson loss, and they don't realize what happened before Nick Saban. Yeah, Gene Stallings won the national title, but between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, there were a lot of lean years at Alabama. They weren't the super dominant team like we see now, probably the most dominant team in the history of college football over the past 10 years. And Alabama fans should be thankful that he's still there, because once he leaves, unless they even bring in Dabo Swinney, there's no guarantee that he would do what Nick's doing at Alabama, then I think you're going to see a drop-off right away. So they ought to be thankful Nick Saban's planning on sticking around for a number of years.
Well, trust me, as someone that does 20 hours of radio work in Tuscaloosa every single week, there has been a little bit of disappointment in the last 3.5 weeks. I guess that's just where the program is currently, either national championship or bust type mentality.
They're spoiled. And they'll realize how good they've got it now once Nick Saban's gone, but that's in the future. And I said the same thing at USC when Pete Carroll was there, and fans were upset his last year or two. He didn't really win super big, but they forgot how it was the previous 20 years, from John Robinson all the way to Pete Carroll, that they had a lot of lean years where they were an average team. And Lou Holtz, when he left Notre Dame's been fairly average since then, really. Kelly's had a couple of good years, but the fact is, some of the superpowers fans don't realize how good they have it when they're doing well. And you're not going to win every single year, although Alabama's kind of made a habit of it. So Alabama fans should be thankful. They've got the best coach in college football and perhaps the greatest college coach in the history of college football. Maybe I would throw him into Pantheon. If he had a Mount Rushmore, you'd put him up there with Amos Alonzo Stagg and Newt Rockne. So he's one of the greats.
Tom Lemming, Lemming Report, co-host of the Lemming Report on CBS Sports. You can find him on the Twitter account straight up at Lemming Report. Tom, as always, it's great to be able to catch up with you and talk about the world of recruiting that you love so much. Thank you for being a part of our show.
My pleasure. Anytime.